Hi, how are you? This is the Phantom of the Ore. This is my Building Real Houses in Minecraft series where I take a picture off the internet and I rebuild it in my Minecraft creative world, and today we're going to be building this house. Isn't that right, Mr. Villager? So right off the bat, I knew that I wanted to make this house out of smooth quartz, and I immediately set out to try to make that shape on the left of the house that was going to be the hardest part of the whole structure. Anything with a curved shape is really hard to do in Minecraft. And I also wanted to make sure that I could get the curvature right, but also keep the building in proportion with the windows so that it doesn't look wonky. Of course, I wish that I could get a perfect little circle at the top like you see in the picture, but this is Minecraft and perfect circles don't exist. Looking back on this build now, I think that I made the curve just a little bit too drastic, but I did already try to build this house once before in a test run, and I didn't make the curve drastic enough before, so I went in the other direction this time. I was going to show you the footage of that original build, but it would have been a waste of time because it just completely did not come out right. I wanted to make the roof out of andesite. Normally I don't like using andesite in builds, but I actually think the roof looks really nice with this build in particular, and the color matches perfectly with the image. With the doorway, I decided to go with a dark oak door. Unfortunately, we don't have black doors in Minecraft, although we really should. And getting that little circle above the door to look good was very difficult because it was hard to get the correct spacing right. And the little half circle on the bottom right of the house was also really difficult because it had to be bigger than the little circle windows that I already made, but it couldn't be so big that it was out of proportion with the rest of the house. Now, yes, you could argue that by making the entire house bigger in general, this shape would have been easier to make, but I want to try to make these houses to scale, more or less in relation with each other, and make it feel like an actual house that you would live in a Minecraft world. So it has to be a reasonable size, and on top of that, the doors would look really, really tiny in a super mega giant house. So that's why I didn't make the house bigger, and I tried to keep it a reasonable size. Since this house is actually pretty simple, minus all the circles, decorating the windows was really easy, making the roof was really easy. It was just all a matter of proportion, and a lot of going back and forth to make sure that the curved areas were symmetrical on both sides. I really like the way the second curved area came out. I think I should have made the front of the house look more like that. It's a little less drastic. Side area of the house is very interesting because at first I wasn't sure how I was supposed to replicate all of the little white planks that seem to be on top of that top section. But then I remembered that end rods existed, which is frustrating to know now because all the other times I was trying to make white trim on the other houses, I could have used end rods for something surely. But they ended up being exactly what I needed for this part of the house, if you can get over the random sparkliness. And then for the windows, I used black glass, of course. Black stained glass, not the tinted glass. Because that's my favorite type of glass to use for houses in general. Some of the windows I made 2 blocks deep so that I could then go in and decorate them with trapdoors. And I don't know why it's raining so much in this game, because I could have sworn I turned the weather off and I checked my settings like a million times, but I can't get it to stop raining for whatever reason. And I really wish there was a way to turn the day-night cycle off. I don't remember if there's a way to do it in Minecraft. I've checked the settings many times, but I can't find the way to do it, if there is one. Making the back part of the house is pretty easy because, like I said, this is a fairly simple design. It's not like the other houses that had more things going on with the roof. And I can't really see this side of the house, so I left it up to my own interpretation. I figured it was probably more or less something like this, where it's open. And maybe if I revisit this house later and I get to decorate the interior and the surrounding yard, maybe I could add a little bit of a garden there. Now that I look at the back part of what I'm doing right there, I think I should have tried to mirror the curve from the other side, but that's okay. I can always come and revisit that at a later time. I started to make the garden, but then I remembered that I forgot to add texture to the house. So I went in and added different types of quartz bricks and chiseled quartz. I think that's what I used, or a quartz block. I think I used quartz block. Either way, it added a really nice texture to the house. And I also went in and added texture to the andesite roof with some andesite bricks. It's a very subtle touch, but it adds a lot of character to the house and realism, especially in a house like this that's very plain, color palette wise. The garden for this house has been the most fun for me out of all the gardens because, as you can see in the picture, it has a lot going on. And I had to think about how I wanted to position everything because it's not... At first, I think I tried to make it a little bit too natural looking, but in the picture, it's very manicured. It's not supposed to look that wild. So I ended up scrapping the more wild look. And that tree you see me making there is supposed to be the little bush that you see next to the window on the left, but I ended up not liking it. So I took it down and then I just never replaced it. So maybe I could do that later too. The walkway was also really hard because not only is it circles, but it's circles of different sizes. So of course I wasn't going to make circles for the walkway. That would have made it disproportionately large. But I solved the issue of the different sizes by just making bigger squares versus smaller squares. And in the end, I think it ended up coming out really nice. I filled in the spaces between with moss, and now that I look at it, I could probably cover the entire front yard with moss and give it a nice separation from the grass around it. Then I went in with the hedges and I used oak leaves and birch leaves mixed together in order to give the bushes a little bit more texture. And this house weirdly doesn't have any lighting on the outside, so that's pretty much it. It's complete. So let me know if you would try building this house in survival. Out of all the houses we've made so far, I think this one's probably the easiest, considering how you only need 2 different types of materials. I mean, unless you want to try to use end rods, that's a whole nother story. But the rest of the materials are really easy to obtain. And I think it would look really cute, especially if it was in the middle of the woods. If you want to see me build anything in particular, follow me on Twitter and Tumblr, and you can send me pictures of things that you want me to build. I'm very active, mostly on Twitter, but I check everything every day, so I'll see your message. If you want me to do the interior of this house or finish doing the yard and really go more in depth with it, give this video 10 likes. Because I'm a small channel, I don't really need that much. 10 likes, and I'll go back to this house and I'll do the interior. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.